you've been thinking your entire life. Right now, as you read this, thoughts are moving through you like weather, plans for tomorrow, a memory from last week, the faint hum of worry about something you cannot name. And beneath all of it, or perhaps between all of it, there is something else, something you have never turned to face directly, though you have brushed against it 1,000 times. Listen to the silence between two thoughts. That is where you live, not in the thoughts themselves, not in the story you tell about who you are or what you want or what went wrong last Tuesday. Somewhere else, somewhere closer than close. You have spent years building a self out of thinking. You wake up and within seconds the inner voice begins. It narrates your morning, it judges the face in the mirror. It rehearses conversations that haven't happened yet and rewrites ones that already have. By the time you've poured your coffee, you've lived an entire other life inside your head, a life made entirely of language, of commentary, of this endless broadcast that never signs off. And you believe, because it has always been this way, that this voice is you, that the one thinking is the one living, that consciousness is the same thing as thought, and thought is the same thing as self. But what if you've been listening to the radio and mistaking it for the room? There is a moment you know well, though you may have never noticed it. It happens when you're driving a familiar route and suddenly realize you've arrived without remembering the last 10 minutes. Your hands steered, your foot moved between pedals, your eyes tracked the road, but you, the you that narrates, were entirely absent. And yet everything continued. The world didn't collapse, you didn't cease to exist. Where were you during those 10 minutes? Not in thought. Thought had wandered off to tomorrow's meeting or last year's argument. The thinking had stopped, or at least retreated to some background hum you weren't attending to. And yet you were still here, still aware, still perceiving the road, the trees, the light changing. So who was aware if the thinker was gone? This is not a riddle. This is the most ordinary fact of your existence, hidden only because you have never thought to look for it. Or rather, you have never stopped thinking long enough to notice what remains when thinking pauses. Right now, notice the screen in front of you. Notice the light it emits. Notice the sensation of your body in the chair or standing or lying down. Notice the sound of the room, or the silence, or the distant hum of traffic outside. All of this is happening without thought. You are not thinking the light into existence. You are not narrating the pressure of the chair into your awareness. These things are simply here, presenting themselves, and something in you is receiving them. Something wordless, something that has been here the entire time, watching, listening, feeling, entirely untroubled by the content of what appears. That something is not a thing at all. It has no edges, no history, no preferences about what should appear next. And it is closer to you than your own heartbeat. Most of your life you have been so absorbed in the movie that you forgot you were the screen. Every thought that has ever moved through you, every fear, every hope, every plan, every memory, has appeared in this space and then dissolved back into it. And the space itself has never been touched. It has never been crowded or empty. It has never been young or old. It has simply been here, silent and vast and utterly intimate, hosting the entire carnival of your inner life without ever becoming any part of it. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts appear. This is not a metaphor. This is not philosophy. This is something you can verify right now, in the next 5 seconds, if you're willing to stop reading and simply notice what is here before the next thought arrives. But you won't. Not yet. Because the mind does not want to be seen. It wants to keep narrating. It wants to stay in control. And so it will immediately produce a thought about this paragraph. It will agree or disagree. It will wonder if this is true or dismiss it as abstract. It will file it away as something to think about later. And in doing so, it will have missed the point entirely, because the point is not something you can think your way to. The point is what remains when thinking stops. Let's try this differently. Let's find the crack. You're in a conversation with someone you love, or someone you're trying to impress, or someone who's just said something that makes your chest tighten. They're talking, and you're nodding, and your face is arranged in the right expression, but you're not really listening. You're waiting for them to finish so you can say the thing you've been rehearsing for the last 30 seconds. The thing that will fix this, the thing that will prove you're smart or kind or right. And then, just as they pause, just as the gap opens for you to speak, you forget what you were going to say, completely, utterly. The sentence you'd been polishing has vanished. And for one terrible, beautiful second, there is nothing, no plan, no script, no inner commentator telling you what to do next. Just the sound of the room, just the light through the window, just the openness of not knowing. And in that second, something shifts. You actually hear the person in front of you. You actually see their face. Not the story you've been telling about their face, but the face itself, the slight tension around their eyes, the way they're holding their shoulders, the fact that they're also afraid, also waiting, also hoping you'll say something true. What happened in that gap? The thinker went offline, and what remained was not absence. It was presence, raw, immediate, unmediated presence. The kind of presence that doesn't need a script because it's already here, already responding, already attuned to what's actually happening, rather than what you think should happen. This is what children have before we teach them to narrate. This is what you touch in those rare moments of awe, standing at the edge of the ocean, or holding someone you love while they cry, or walking through the first snow of winter and forgetting for 10 seconds to check your phone. This is the ground of everything, and you have been standing on it your whole life without looking down. Now, you might be thinking, if this awareness is so fundamental, why don't I feel it all the time? Why does it take forgetting my line in a conversation or 10 minutes of highway hypnosis or some rare moment of beauty to notice it? Because you've been taught to look away. From the time you were small, you were taught that you are the story, that you are your name, your history, your preferences, your achievements, your failures, your plans. You were taught that the voice in your head is the captain of the ship, and that if it ever stops talking, you'll drift into chaos or nothingness. You were taught that silence is something to fill, that stillness is something to fear, that the gap between thoughts is a void to be avoided at all costs. And so you learned to keep the radio on, always. You learned to narrate the walk to the car, the taste of your lunch, the feeling in your chest when someone doesn't text back. You learned to fill every silence with commentary, every stillness with planning, every moment of not knowing with a guess. You learned to live in your head, because you were never told there was anywhere else to be. But your head is not the center of your experience. It's just one small part of it, a useful part when it's needed, a tool like your hands that can pick things up and put them down and build things and solve problems. But you wouldn't say you are your hands. You wouldn't spend all day listening to your hands narrate reality. So why do you believe you are the voice? Here's the deeper trouble. The voice doesn't just narrate. It narrates you. It tells a story about who you are, what kind of person you are, what you're good at, and what you'll never be able to do. And because this story has been running since you were old enough to speak, you believe it. You believe you are shy or confident or broken or fine. You believe you are the kind of person who can handle this, but not that. You believe your past determines your future, that your thoughts define your worth, that the commentary is the truth. But the commentary is just commentary. It's weather. It comes and goes. Some days the voice is kind. Some days it's vicious. Some days it's quiet. Some days it's a hurricane. And beneath all of it, through all of it, the awareness that hosts the voice has never changed. It has never been damaged by the cruel thought or inflated by the proud one. It has simply allowed them all to appear, like clouds moving across a sky that remains untouched by weather. You are not the weather. You are the sky, and the sky doesn't need to become anything. It doesn't need to improve or heal or transcend. It's already whole. It has always been whole. It was whole when you were 5 and whole when you were 15, and it will be whole when you are 85, no matter what the voice says about you in the meantime. This is not a reason to stop caring. It's not permission to become passive or detached or cold. It's the opposite. When you realize you are the awareness rather than the story, you can actually engage with life instead of constantly defending a fictional character. You can listen without preparing your response. You can feel without needing to explain. You can act without needing to prove. Because the one who needs to prove is the voice. The one who fears and grasps and plans and controls is the voice. The awareness doesn't need anything. It's already here. It's already free. Still, the mind will resist this. It will say, if I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? If I stop narrating, won't I disappear? If I let go of the story, won't I lose everything I've built? These are good questions. Let's sit with them. You are standing in a kitchen you've stood in 1,000 times. The light through the window is the same light as yesterday. The hum of the refrigerator is the same hum. You're making coffee or tea or pouring a glass of water, and the movements are so familiar they could happen in your sleep. Your hands know where the cup is, your body knows the weight of the kettle, and your mind, as usual, is somewhere else, replaying an argument from last week, planning a conversation for tomorrow, narrating a story about how tired you are or how much you have to do. But then, for no reason you can name, you stop. Not the body keeps moving. But the narration stops, the commentary cuts out. And for just a moment, you're entirely here, entirely in this kitchen, with this light, with these hands, with this breath. And the kitchen is not the same. The light is sharper, the hum of the refrigerator is louder, or maybe you're just hearing it for the first time in months. The weight of the cup in your hand feels almost unbearably real, almost unbearably simple. And there is no gap between you and the moment, no narrator describing it, no one standing back and saying, I am here in this kitchen having this experience. Just the experience itself, undivided, whole, immediate. This is not special. This is not enlightenment. This is just what it's like to be here without the filter of thought. And it's available to you at any moment, not as a reward for years of practice or a gift granted by some outside force, but simply as the most basic fact of existence. When the narration stops, reality appears. The question is, why does the narration start again? Because it always does. You can't hold on to that moment of clarity. It dissolves the instant you try to possess it, the instant you think, this is it. I've found it. I should do this more often. The thought itself is the end of the silence. The moment you narrate the gap is gone. And this is where most people give up. They taste the silence once or twice, they feel the freedom of it, and then they spend the rest of their lives chasing it. They read books about presence, they download meditation apps, they try to make the mind stop thinking, as if thinking were the enemy, as if silence were something you could force into place. But the mind will never stop thinking. That's its job. That's what it does. Asking the mind to stop thinking is like asking the heart to stop beating. It's not going to happen. And even if it did, you wouldn't want it to. The silence between two thoughts is not the absence of thought. It's what thought appears in. It's the space that holds the thought, the way a room holds furniture. And the space doesn't need the furniture to leave in order to be a room. The space is always here, whether the furniture is here or not. So the practice is not to stop thinking. The practice is to notice the space. And you don't need to meditate for an hour to do this. You don't need to sit on a cushion or close your eyes or wait for some future moment of clarity. You can do it now, in the next breath, in the next pause between sentences. Just notice who is reading these words. Not the story about who you are, not your name or your age or your history. Who is actually here, right now, aware of the light on the screen and the weight of the device in your hand, and the fact that these words are appearing and being understood? There is no answer to this question, or rather, the answer is not a thought. The answer is the silence that remains when the question is held without being solved. The answer is the awareness that is already here, already noticing, already free of the need to be named or defined or captured in language. This is where you live, not in the next thought, not in the story about your past or your future. Here, in this space, in this silence, in this inexplicable, undeniable fact of being aware. And the extraordinary thing is that this space is vast enough to hold everything, every thought, every feeling, every sensation, every moment of pain or joy or confusion or clarity. The space is never crowded. The space is never damaged. The space simply allows it all to appear and dissolve, like waves on an ocean that is never diminished by the waves. You are the ocean. You have always been the ocean. You just spent so long identifying with the waves that you forgot you were the water. Now let's be clear about what this is not. This is not an excuse to stop caring about your life. It's not permission to ignore your responsibilities or dismiss your pain or pretend that suffering doesn't matter. The awareness that hosts your experience is not indifferent. It's not cold or distant or detached. It's the opposite. It's the most intimate thing there is. It's closer to you than your thoughts about yourself, closer than your memories, closer than your breath. And when you rest in this awareness, you don't become less human, you become more human, because you stop defending a character and start responding to life. You stop trying to control what can't be controlled and start meeting what's actually here. You stop insisting that reality match your story and start noticing that reality is already whole, already complete, already enough. This doesn't mean everything is fine. It doesn't mean suffering is an illusion or that pain isn't real. Pain is real. Loss is real. The world is full of genuine, heartbreaking difficulty, and no amount of awareness will erase that. But awareness changes the relationship to difficulty. When you're identified with the voice, difficulty feels like a threat to your survival. It feels like evidence that something is wrong with you, or wrong with life, or wrong with the universe. It feels like a problem that must be solved immediately, or else you'll be destroyed. But when you rest in awareness, difficulty is just difficulty. It's weather. It's something that appears in the space, moves through the space, and dissolves. It hurts. It's real. But it doesn't threaten the space itself. The space is untouched. The space can hold it. And when you realize the space can hold it, you stop collapsing around the pain. You stop making it mean something about who you are or what your life is worth. You let it be what it is, a wave in the ocean, intense and real and temporary. And you keep breathing, you keep moving, you keep responding. Because the ocean doesn't stop being the ocean just because the waves are rough. This is not a philosophy. This is not an idea to believe in. This is something you can test right now in the middle of whatever difficulty you're carrying. The next time you feel the tightness in your chest, or the knot in your stomach, or the voice in your head saying you can't handle this, pause, just for a second, and notice. Who is aware of the tightness? Who is noticing the knot? Who is hearing the voice? The one who is aware is not tight. The one who is aware is not knotted. The one who is aware is not the voice. The one who is aware is the space in which all of this is appearing. And the space is not suffering. The space is simply here, vast and still and untroubled, holding the suffering the way a mother holds a crying child. You don't have to make the crying stop. You just have to remember you're not the child. You're the one holding the child. And from that place, you can respond, not react, respond. Because reaction is what the voice does. It grabs, it pushes, it runs, it fights. But response is what awareness does. It feels, it listens, it allows, and then it acts clearly and calmly from a place that is not afraid. This is not detachment. This is freedom. Detachment says, I don't care, it doesn't matter, it's all meaningless anyway. Freedom says, I care deeply, and because I care, I'm not going to make it worse by collapsing into the story. I'm going to stay here, in the space, where I can actually see what's needed. And what's needed is almost never what the voice thinks is needed. The voice thinks you need to fix it, control it, figure it out, make it go away. But the space knows you just need to be with it, to feel it fully, to let it move through you without resistance. Because resistance is what keeps the wave from dissolving. Resistance is what turns a moment of pain into a lifetime of suffering. When you stop resisting, the wave passes. It always does. And the space remains. You might be wondering, if this space is always here, why don't I feel it? Why do I spend most of my life lost in thought, identified with the voice, believing I am the wave instead of the ocean? Because you've never been taught to look. You've been taught to think. You've been taught to solve. You've been taught to improve, optimize, achieve, become. You've been taught that the answer is always one more thought away, one more insight away, one more accomplishment away. You've been taught that the gap between who you are and who you should be is a problem to be closed through effort and planning and willpower. But the gap is not a problem. The gap is where you live. The silence between two thoughts is not something you arrive at after a lifetime of trying. It's here, right now. It has always been here. You just keep looking past it, over it, around it, because you think the answer must be somewhere else, somewhere more complicated, somewhere more distant. But the most radical thing you can do is stop looking, stop seeking, stop trying to get somewhere other than here. Because here is where you've always been. Here is where you'll always be. And here is not a location. It's not a state. It's not an experience. It's the awareness in which all locations, all states, all experiences appear. And it's not small, it's not limited. It's not the tiny, anxious, narrating self that you've been defending and managing and trying to improve for decades. It's vast, it's open, it's free of history and free of future and free of the need to be anything other than what it is, which is nothing and everything at the same time. This is the paradox you can't think your way through. The awareness that is reading these words has no qualities. It has no color, no shape, no size, no weight. You can't point to it, you can't describe it. You can't even really talk about it without turning it into a thing, which it isn't. And yet it's the only thing you've ever known directly. Every experience you've ever had has appeared in this awareness. Every thought, every sensation, every emotion, every moment of your life has been known by this awareness, and the awareness has never changed. It was the same when you were 5 as it is now. It will be the same when you're 85. It's the constant in a life of variables. It's the still point in the turning world. You are not your past. You are not your future. You are not your story. You are the awareness in which the story appears. And the awareness has no story. It has no wounds. It has no regrets. It has no needs. It's already whole. It has always been whole. And it will always be whole, no matter what the mind says about you in the meantime. This is not a belief. This is not faith. This is something you can verify in your own experience right now if you're willing to stop for just a moment and notice what's here when the narration stops. But the narration won't stop on its own. It will keep running until you turn toward it and see it for what it is. Not the truth, not the self, not the one in control. Just a voice, just a pattern, just weather in the space. And when you see it clearly, something extraordinary happens. The voice doesn't go away, but it loses its authority. It becomes just one thing appearing in the space, rather than the thing defining the space. And you realize with a kind of quiet shock that you've been free the entire time. You just didn't know it. You were so busy listening to the voice, so busy believing the story, so busy trying to fix yourself, that you never noticed the awareness that was here all along, holding it all, requiring nothing, offering everything. This is not the end of your life. This is the beginning of it. Because you can't really live until you stop defending the character. You can't really love until you stop needing love to prove something. You can't really act until you stop waiting for permission from the voice. And you can't really rest until you realize the awareness is already at rest, already at peace, already home. The silence between two thoughts is not a destination. It's not somewhere you go. It's where you are. It's where you've always been. You just keep leaving. You keep getting lost in the next thought, the next plan, the next worry, the next regret. And then you remember, or you forget to remember, and you get lost again. But the space doesn't go anywhere. The space is always here. The space is always waiting. Not waiting for you to arrive because you never left. Waiting for you to notice that the arrival already happened. That you're already here. That you've always been here. And the noticing is not hard. It doesn't require years of practice or special techniques or some altered state of consciousness. It just requires a willingness to stop for 1 second and see what's here when you're not narrating it. Right now. This breath. This moment. This inexplicable fact of awareness. Not not the awareness of something, just awareness. Pure, open, effortless awareness. The kind that doesn't need to be earned or maintained or protected. The kind that is simply here, like the light is here, like the air is here, like the silence behind all sound is here. This is where you live, not in your head, not in your story, not in the voice that never stops commenting on your life. Here, in the space that holds the voice, in the silence that allows the noise, in the awareness that is closer to you than your own skin, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. The voice will keep talking, the thoughts will keep coming, the story will keep running. But you'll know somewhere underneath it all that the story is not the truth, that the voice is not the self, that the one listening is not the one speaking. You'll know with a certainty that requires no proof that you are the listener, you are the space, you are the silence between two thoughts, and you have always been free. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Right now, as you finish reading this, before the next thought arrives, before the mind turns this into another idea to file away, pause just for 3 seconds and notice what is here when you're not thinking about what is here, not as a concept, not as an experiment, but as the most direct, immediate, undeniable fact of your existence. What is aware of these words? What is aware of the pause? What is aware of the question itself? Don't answer with a thought. Let the question dissolve into the silence. Let the silence reveal itself, not as emptiness, not as absence, but as the fullness that contains everything, requires nothing, and is never not here. This is not the beginning of a practice. This is the end of seeking, because what you're looking for is what is looking, and it has been here the entire time, waiting for you to turn around and see that the one searching and the one being searched for are the same. You are already home. You just forgot to notice. So notice, right now, before the next thought, before the next plan, before the next story about who you should be or what you should do. Just notice. And in the noticing, rest, not because you've arrived somewhere new, but because you finally stopped leaving. This is where you live. In the silence between two thoughts, in the space that holds the world, in the awareness that is reading these words and has never, not once, not ever, been separate from what you are. You are still here, aren't you? Still breathing, still aware, still present even as the thoughts come and go. And that presence is not a thing you have. It's what you are. It's what you've always been, and it will never leave you because it is you. So rest here, in this knowing, in this silence, in this inexplicable, undeniable fact of being aware. Let the thoughts come, let them go, let the story run its course, and know, with a certainty deeper than thought, that you are not the story. You are the space in which the story appears, and the space is already free. Now, if this has touched something in you, if you felt even a flicker of recognition in these words, I want you to do something. I want you to write one sentence in the comments, not a question, not a critique, just one sentence in your own words that proves you stayed to the end. Something like, I am the awareness that watches my thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. Or, the silence between my thoughts has always been here, and so have I. Make it yours. Make it true. Let it be the first thing you say from the space instead of from the voice. And if something in you is still curious, still leaning into this question of what you are beneath the story, there are videos appearing on your screen right now that take this further. Watch one. Let it land. Let the silence grow. Because the silence is not the end of anything. It's the beginning of everything. And it's been waiting for you your entire life.